the ocean.
I think they are from Hangzhou, Shenzhen, Beijing, so you can understand them.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we have 7 different cities here.
So a question for people who know about meetings in China. I've heard that the meetings are extremely long and nobody really listens. You can use your phone, you can come and go as you like, get food, come back, meeting's still going on. Is this accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm here to draw a contrast with what we do here in Silicon Valley with respect to the pitch. It's usually very tightly timed. And in fact, sometimes you need to go up and nudge the person and convince them that you're actually done. And I've been doing this pitch coaching and helping people develop the pitch for about 5 years here in Silicon Valley. And I have a background as a public speaker and a communications coach. So what I want to just communicate with you, well, number one, I'd like to find out who's interested in pitching and who is pitching. Yes, sir. So tell me about your status doing pitching.
I'd like to know what you have to say.
I'm happy to do that. Very well. I'll start at the top. A pitch is a design presentation that goes through a sequence of specified steps to convince the listeners that you have a great business opportunity and they should follow up on investing in your company. And there's a standard way to do that. So the standard way, ordinarily, number one, you do it standing up. Pitches are energetic over here. And if you do it sitting down, it will be very odd. So you do it standing up, and the focus is usually on you, not on the slides. And here are really quickly, here are the parts you need to trip through to make a good pitch. We want the overview, which is, what does my company produce? What value does it produce? For whom? Who do we sell it to, or who subscribes to it? Why would they subscribe to it? And what's special about us, usually? So that's an overview. It's like, we are making the hoverboard that doesn't light on fire. Teenagers love us, and we're insurable. We're selling to the U.S. market. That's an overview. The next thing that comes. So ordinarily, you could add more to the overview if there's a big market opportunity. It's exciting. But the next thing that usually comes is, what's the problem? Why do we need a hoverboard? Well, the children are bored. They need to get outside. They need to play. People like recreation. Everyone loves something new. It's a thrill. But they're not finding it. They're hungry for a new kind of recreation. So that's the problem. In other words, the desire. You refer to the fact that somewhere out there's a substantial market of people with money who are not satisfied with what they can currently obtain. So that is a problem definition. Then it's, well, what are you bringing to the table in terms of technology, business model, synergy, possibly. Maybe you're selling two things together that used to be sold separately. You're making things more convenient. So you're bringing something to the table that people who are unsatisfied are going to go, oh my God, it's finally here, my problems are over. So finding a job, being easier to find a car you want to buy, any kind of Airbnb. Oh my goodness, awesome. I've been using it recently. Wow, that's cool. It solves the problem of, look at the hotel costs in Silicon Valley. So, starting back at the beginning, you got the overview, you got a problem, who's dissatisfied and how much are they willing to spend. Your solution, when you say your solution, ordinarily there are 2 or 3 things that investors are really listening for. So number one, is it unique? Does it have value that no one else can easily offer? A moat, sometimes, is the way we describe it. And then, why now? So very, very often investors know about a problem that's been chronic for many years. Other solutions have been tried. Why is yours the best one, and why is it the time to strike now? So we've got the solution. The next question is the market. So now we understand the problem you're addressing. We understand how you're building something that's cool. How are you going to convince other people that it's the one to use? How do they find out you exist? How do they compare you against other people? How do they get evidence of how valuable you are? And what's the degree of ease or non-ease of signing up and starting to use you? So marketing is all about the domain of human choice. Finding something that you might want, investigating it, deciding on it, and so forth. So if you get all those things, you're practically home free. I'll tell you why. The next step is the business model. But the thing is, investors like to think they are the biggest experts on the business model, and they probably are. But you need something about the business model. So once you've said all the substantial, interesting things about solving the problem and how you're going to market, you need to give some model of how do you get revenue that becomes profitable, after some period of time. Maybe it's a couple of years, maybe longer, maybe never. So, reading stories about Box and lots of so-called maybe unicorns that are stalling. But there needs to be a credible plan to get to revenue. And then finally, ordinarily, you put the team in. You're going to describe your team anywhere you want, frankly. And then there's the ask. So if there's no ask, if you're not saying, this is the amount of money we want, and this gives us runway for 18 months, and we're going to be able to produce version 1.0 of the product, there's no ask, it's not a pitch, it's a presentation. So the ask is super important. And through this whole thing, the investors are going to be looking right at you and thinking, oh, this sounds like an interesting opportunity, I might want to invest, but is he the guy, or she the woman to do that? So it's very important that you are master of your domain when you're pitching. I know, I like Seinfeld too. It's good. The humor is awesome. So if you can get the whole room to laugh, you are a powerful person in a pitch. Is there more to add? Yes, there's one more thing to add, and then I'll have any questions you might like. So there is a category of information which I refer to as headlines. These are attention-grabbing, impressive facts about your enterprise and its prospects. And they have to be attention-grabbing facts for the rest of the world. Not that you think they're cool. Not that you think, oh, because our design is more compact and we just think it's going to use less power. I don't care. I want to know if you're in the press. I want to know if someone on your team has won a Nobel Prize. I want to know if you have amazing viral growth. I want to know if you have a lab test of your gear showing that it's 30% more efficient than other servers or whatever technology it is. So a headline is a super cool thing if you got it, and the mantra around the Valley is lead with traction. So traction and, of course, revenue or profitability are the most huge headlines of all. So if you have people signing up for your app or your service, or if you have the product is flying off the shelves, or you had an amazing Kickstarter campaign, all of those become headlines, and you say them early. Because your credibility is being judged from the moment you start speaking, and naturally you want to get in, you want your credibility boosted early. Modesty is not a plan for pitching. So that's my very brief synopsis of pitching. I'm sure it's different from what you guys experience today in this room. However, in Silicon Valley, that's typically how it's done because people are super busy. They're seeing 20 opportunities in a day. Questions, comments, experiences, war stories? What do you got?
Related.
Yeah.
Related. It's a compliment. Related. Not the subject matter you conveyed, but I've listened to a lot of advice over my years, and that was an extremely concise and value on every word dissertation.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.
I haven't heard better in my life years.
I'm so glad video is running. Thank you, sir.
So,
Yes.
How long does a pitch usually last?
Say that again, please.
How
long does it usually last? So, a typical event around the Valley is giving you roughly from 3 to, say, 6 minutes. So an average would be more like 4.5 or so. And then so the way it usually runs is there's a slate. So, for example, I'm involved with preparing teams for an event on Monday about health and wellness. It's at NEA, this famous firm on Sand Hill Road. The format is going to be a 3.5-minute pitch, and then about 2.5 to 3 minutes of feedback. So there's usually a panel of investors. Sometimes I'm on the panel, but usually it's the VCs and the angels, and they ask questions, which are very stereotypical, by the way. What's your go-to-market strategy? How much does it cost you to acquire customers? How much have you validated? So the questions are really predictable. And it is tough in 3.5 minutes to cover those essentials, but it is doable. One thing I would advise if you're adjusting time, it's usually a bad idea to keep the same number of slides and just click faster. That's dizzying. Other questions or comments? Or maybe war stories if you've been pitching.
Right. I have a question. So I went to that panel, did paid pitch before. So is that typical to have a panel? Or I was just trying to wonder if I connect with somebody one-on-one, but that won't be a panel, right? Or they always arrange.
What sort of setting are you talking about where you do this
We
connection?
can just talk about a pitching format, right?
Yeah.
So, but the panel is that very typical or not?
The panels are typical. Yes, I would say over half of the pitch events have a panel of some sort. They don't have to, but they could. I don't know how yes, sir.
Yeah, just when you mentioned the 6 steps. So within 3.5 minutes, you have to cover all these 6.
It's tricky, but ideally it's doable. If you feel you can't fit it in, what you do is you go for the wow. So, there's a famous, who's this guy? Bill Reichert with Garage Tech Ventures. His thing is go for the wow, do it in 20 seconds. So as you shrink the size available to you, you stick more with the most exciting thing and the most notable thing about your company, what the technology can do that's surprising or different, etc. And you drop off business model. It's easy to drop that off. You drop off detail about the problem.